Keep your eyes on the woman walking down the quiet 14th floor hallway of the Lakeshore Crest Hotel. This is Ariana Holt, 28 years old, recorded at about 8:41 p.m. The corner camera follows her as she heads toward her room, holding a small cafe bag and checking her phone. Now focus on the stairwell door behind her. It opens slowly before a man steps out, later identified as hotel guest Evan Rudd. He pauses, watches Ariana, then begins following her at a controlled, careful pace. He doesn't speak. He stays far enough behind not to be noticed. Ariana reaches her door, pulls out her key card, and unlocks it. As she steps inside, Evan suddenly closes in. The camera records him rushing forward, pushing the door open with both hands and forcing her into the room. The door slams shut, leaving the hallway still and silent. 22 minutes later, the door opens again. Evan walks out calmly, adjusts his shirt, glances down the hall, and heads back toward the stairwell without hesitation. That footage is the last time Ariana Holt is seen alive. Welcome to Chills Beneath. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for more stories. Ariana Holt lived a life shaped by independence and curiosity. She worked remotely as a digital marketing coordinator, a job that gave her the flexibility to travel whenever she wanted. She wasn't wealthy, but she budgeted carefully and saved for trips that made her feel alive. Hotels, airports, cafes. She loved the rhythm of moving from one place to the next. Her online following grew slowly and steadily. She filmed skincare routines, travel tips, and late-night pack-with-me videos. Her audience appreciated her calm voice and grounded personality. She didn't chase drama or try to be something she wasn't. She shared what she loved, and people connected with that. Ariana came from a small family. She texted her sister daily. She checked in with her mother every few days. She never went long without responding to messages. Her friends described her as reliable, thoughtful, and disciplined. Someone who always finished her work early and always double-checked her travel plans. On the morning of her stay at Lakeshore Crest, she flew into the city on a short weekend trip. She had been feeling burned out at work and decided a change of scenery would help her reset. After landing, she grabbed lunch at the airport, called her sister to let her know she arrived safely, and took a rideshare to the hotel. Once she checked in, Ariana spent the afternoon wandering through the lobby, capturing photos of the decor for her social media page. She sat in the lounge editing content, sipping a cold drink while working through pending assignments. She planned to spend the night relaxing in her room, editing videos, ordering room service, and watching movies. Nothing in her behavior suggested worry. Nothing indicated she felt threatened. She moved through the hotel with ease, trusting the environment around her. Hours before the CCTV footage captured the final sequence, Evan Rudd had already been moving throughout the hotel in patterns staff later described as aimless. He checked into Lakeshore Crest 2 days earlier under the pretense of attending a regional conference being hosted at the hotel, but footage showed that he didn't attend any sessions. Instead, he lingered around the lobby for long stretches, watched guests check in and out, and drifted between floors without any obvious purpose. Hotel maintenance cameras recorded him wandering near restricted areas. A staff member saw him pacing outside the conference hall, but assumed he was lost. At one point, Evan asked the front desk for a room change, requesting a quieter floor. He was moved to the 17th floor, a location that gave him access to stairwells with minimal foot traffic. Throughout the day, he appeared in different parts of the hotel with no pattern, standing near the vending machines, sitting alone in the lounge without ordering anything, walking slowly through hallways as if searching for something. There was no interaction between him and Ariana earlier that day. No shared words, no accidental bump-ins. Their paths only crossed through the camera system that detectives would later study frame by frame. Evan's behavior lacked urgency. He didn't look nervous or hurried. He looked patient, as if waiting for the right person to appear. Ariana's final hours were quiet and filled with small, ordinary moments. Around 4 p.m., she settled into a comfortable seat in the hotel lounge to edit a sponsored video. She had her laptop open, her phone propped up beside it, and a half-finished iced drink at her side. Cameras captured her smiling at her screen during a video call with her sister. She told her she planned to take it easy tonight and enjoy the hotel amenities. After working for a while, Ariana walked to the elevator and headed back to her room. She spent some time inside unpacking a few items and reviewing her itinerary for the weekend. She later walked down to the fitness center but didn't stay long, returning to the lobby shortly after. Around 7:30 p.m., Ariana visited the cafe near the entrance to grab a snack and a bottled drink. She exchanged polite conversation with the barista and took a few photos of a decorative display for her followers. Her movements remained routine. From room to lounge, from cafe to hallway, she walked with the peaceful confidence of someone staying in a place built for safety and rest. Unbeknownst to her, Evan appeared in footage shortly after she left each area. He followed at a distance, close enough to track her, but far enough to avoid drawing attention. Ariana returned to the cafe once more around 8:30 p.m., deciding she wanted to grab a drink before settling into her room for the night. She paid, thanked the staff, and walked toward the elevators. This would be the last normal moment of her life. The first clear moment Evan targeted Ariana came from a camera positioned near the lobby elevators. Ariana stepped into the elevator alone, pressing the button for the 14th floor. Seconds later, Evan walked into frame. He paused in front of the elevator she had taken but didn't enter. Instead, he walked to the elevator beside it and pressed the call button. When his elevator arrived, Evan stepped inside and pressed 15, one floor above Ariana. Another camera showed him exiting on the 15th floor and immediately walking to the stairwell. He did not stop to look for his room. He did not hesitate. He opened the stairwell door and descended quietly to the 14th floor. Hallway footage recorded him peeking through the stairwell window, watching Ariana walk toward her room. He waited until she passed, then slipped out into the hall. Ariana never turned around. Evan followed her movement down the hallway, staying several steps back. His posture remained casual, almost relaxed, but his eyes stayed locked on her. Each camera angle captured a new piece of the pursuit. Evan leaving the stairwell as soon as she did, matching her pace, and closing the distance slightly each time she slowed. By the time she reached her door, he was close enough to reach her in seconds. At 8:41 p.m., Ariana reached her room and retrieved her key card from her bag. She leaned forward slightly, scanning the card against the sensor until it flashed green. The door unlocked. As she pushed it open, Evan quickened his steps. The hallway camera caught the exact moment Ariana shifted her weight forward to enter. Before she could turn around or close the door behind her, Evan lunged. He pressed both hands against the door in Ariana's back, forcing her inside in a single forceful motion. The sound of the door slamming shut echoed down the hallway, captured clearly by the microphone of the nearby elevator camera. No other guests walked through that corridor. No staff passed by. No one saw the confrontation in real time. The door stayed shut. Inside the room, the struggle unfolded out of view, though evidence later revealed how violent the attack became. Ariana attempted to resist, knocking over a bedside lamp and dragging part of the comforter across the floor as she fought. The autopsy would later confirm she had been sexually assaulted and that her cause of death was strangulation. The room showed signs of disruption, items displaced, a shoe turned sideways under the desk, her phone knocked to the ground. After overpowering her, Evan remained inside for several minutes. He wiped surfaces, repositioned the comforter, and searched her belongings. He left her phone in the corner of the room and took her room key. He opened the door only after he finished staging the room. At 9:03 p.m., the door opened again. Evan stepped into the hallway calmly, carrying nothing except the small bag he had originally brought from the cafe earlier that day. He looked down the hall briefly, then turned toward the stairwell. Another camera captured him entering the stairwell, descending quickly and exiting on the 12th floor. From there, he walked through a side hallway and entered the parking garage. He did not leave the hotel property immediately. Instead, he sat inside the garage stairwell for several minutes, reviewing something on his phone and occasionally glancing toward the exit. At 9:26 p.m., Evan exited the building on foot, walking down a dimly lit sidewalk toward the street. He passed beneath a traffic camera that recorded him heading toward a bus stop. Meanwhile, Ariana's room remained silent. No one knocked. No one entered. No one knew she was gone. The night passed quietly on the 14th floor. When Ariana didn't check in with her sister the next morning, no one panicked at first. She often slept late during hotel stays, especially when she had spent the night editing videos or wandering around the property taking photos. But by mid-morning, her sister noticed Ariana hadn't opened her messages or responded to the call she placed earlier. Ariana rarely ignored calls from family, and she never went long without updating someone about her plans. At 10:15 a.m., Ariana's supervisor attempted to reach her after she didn't log into the scheduled virtual meeting. She was always punctual, even while traveling. When she didn't respond to the message, he assumed there was a Wi-Fi issue and waited. After another hour passed with no login, he emailed her again. That message, too, went unread. Back at the hotel, housekeeping knocked on Ariana's door as part of routine cleaning. There was no answer. They knocked again, waited, and finally marked the room as "Do Not Disturb," noting the time in their logs. Ariana's sister called the front desk shortly after noon, asking whether anyone had seen her. The staff member remembered Ariana checking in and described her as friendly, polite, and excited about her stay, but had no knowledge of her whereabouts that morning. When the sister explained she hadn't heard from Ariana since the night before, concern began tightening like a cord around everyone involved. Hotel management placed a courtesy call to Ariana's room. No answer. Housekeeping returned, knocked a third time, waited, and still heard nothing. By 1 o'clock, Ariana's sister called again, her voice more urgent now. She asked for someone to physically check the room. Reluctant to violate privacy procedures, the staff contacted hotel security, who accompanied housekeeping for a wellness check. That decision would mark the moment everything shifted from concern to alarm. Security approached Ariana's door, announcing themselves several times before unlocking it with the hotel's master key. The door opened slowly at first, then all the way once they realized something was wrong. The room was unusually quiet. No running water, no television, no signs of someone preparing to leave. A suitcase sat open near the desk, clothes still folded inside. The cafe bag from the night before sat untouched on the counter. A single shoe lay partially beneath the desk. When security stepped farther in, they saw Ariana on the floor beside the bed. They froze. Her body was positioned unnaturally, with faint signs of struggle visible in the room. A shifted bedside lamp, bedding pulled halfway to the floor, a pillow dropped near the foot of the bed. Nothing looked staged or accidental. It looked like something violent had occurred. Security immediately locked the door from the inside, radioed for management, and requested emergency services. Within minutes, police officers arrived, sealed the hallway, and moved floor by floor to keep guests away. Paramedics confirmed what was already apparent. Ariana had not survived the attack. Detectives arrived soon after and began documenting the scene. They photographed the room from multiple angles, cataloged every item out of place, and collected Ariana's belongings, including her phone, which they found on the floor near the bathroom. The room key was missing. The first detective to review the scene noted the condition of the bedding and the position of Ariana's body, indicating clear signs of an assault and a prolonged struggle. They also noted that entry into the room showed signs of force, not from the outside, but from someone pushing inward at the threshold. Hotel staff provided Ariana's check-in records, keycard data, and surveillance logs. Detectives requested immediate access to all cameras on the 14th floor, 15th floor, the stairwells, the elevators, and the lobby. The investigation began in earnest. Detectives gathered in a conference room on the 3rd floor of the hotel, where staff had already uploaded hours of CCTV footage from all relevant cameras. They began the process of scanning each angle, syncing timestamps, and mapping out movements. The first footage reviewed was Ariana returning to her hallway at 8:41 p.m. She walked steadily, holding her cafe bag and scrolling through her phone for a moment before putting it away. The hallway camera captured her stopping at her door, retrieving her keycard, and pushing the door open. Then came the critical footage, Evan emerging from the stairwell moments later. Detectives watched him approach at a brisk pace, press against the door, and force Ariana inside. They watched the door close. The hallway remained still for 22 minutes, and Evan exit the room afterward, adjusting his shirt and leaving without hesitation. From there, footage traced his path through the stairwell to the 12th floor. Another hallway camera caught him entering the parking garage. Exterior cameras captured him leaving the building on foot. Next, detectives reviewed footage from earlier in the evening. They saw Ariana in the lounge, the cafe, and the elevator. Each time, Evan appeared in footage within minutes of her movements. He hovered in the background near the fitness center entrance. He lingered by the vending machines. He watched her from a distance in the lobby. Detectives then reviewed footage from Evan's floor. They saw him pacing outside his room, adjusting his clothes and using the hotel's mobile checkout feature from his doorway. He discarded a plastic bag into the trash chute moments before leaving the hotel. As they combined hallway angles, stairwell footage, elevator timestamps, and lobby videos, the sequence became undeniable. He had followed her. He had targeted her. He had waited until she was isolated. He had planned his movements to avoid interacting with staff or other guests. He had left with calm, practiced intention. The timeline laid out every step with chilling clarity. With the timeline in place, detectives moved to identify the man seen following Ariana. They extracted still images of his face from the hallway cameras, focusing on frames where he glanced upward toward the lens. These images were sharpened, enhanced, and run through the hotel's registration system. Only one guest on the upper floors matched his appearance. Evan Rudd, age 41. Detectives pulled his hotel profile and discovered he had checked in with a company card associated with a small printing business based out of another state. They confirmed his listed address and began contacting his employer for additional background information. Hotel staff provided statements noting that Evan had asked to be moved to a quieter floor, had spent time lingering around the lobby, and had seemed uninterested in conference activities. A cafe worker remembered him staring toward the lounge while Ariana worked earlier that day. Detectives also requested swipe access logs for stairwell entries and exits. The logs showed Evan using the 15th floor stairwell multiple times throughout the evening, often within minutes of Ariana using the elevator. Fingerprints collected from Ariana's room doorframe were analyzed, and an early match identified Evan's prints on the inside area of the door, near the handle. With video, prints, keycard data, and guest information aligned, detectives concluded that Evan was the last person to see Ariana alive, and likely the only person involved in her death. They issued an alert for his location and prepared a warrant for his arrest. Evan had left the hotel on foot, which complicated the search. Detectives worked with traffic management to review footage from nearby intersections. About 30 minutes after leaving the parking garage, a traffic camera captured him walking toward a bus terminal several blocks away. Detectives dispatched officers to the terminal immediately. Inside, surveillance cameras showed Evan approaching a ticket counter and inquiring about the next outbound bus to a neighboring state. He paid in cash and sat near the back corner of the waiting area, looking toward the exit frequently. By the time officers arrived, the bus had not yet departed. They approached the platform quietly, identifying Evan by the clothing he wore in the footage. When they confronted him, he appeared startled, but did not flee. Officers handcuffed him without resistance. Inside his bag, detectives found a set of clothes that matched those worn during the attack, along with Ariana's room key. A receipt from a nearby convenience store showed he had purchased cleaning wipes shortly after leaving the hotel. Evan was transported back to the local police department for questioning. Detectives began preparing the evidence they would confront him with, knowing the strength of the case rested on the clarity of the video timeline and the forensic findings that were still being processed. The medical examiner's report confirmed Ariana's cause of death as manual strangulation. Bruising on her neck and upper arms indicated she had attempted to resist. Evidence also confirmed that she had been sexually assaulted during the attack. Forensic teams processed Ariana's hotel room meticulously. They collected fingerprints from multiple surfaces: the desk, the bathroom counter, the edge of the bed frame. Several prints matched Evan's. The room key log showed he had entered only once during the attack. Her phone had fingerprints consistent with hers and smudges indicating it had been dropped during the struggle. DNA analysis confirmed that biological evidence collected from Ariana matched Evan. Detectives reviewed the autopsy findings and matched them against the video timeline. The timing aligned with the 22 minutes Evan spent inside her room. No other person entered or exited the hallway during that window. With forensic findings, room data, and synchronized CCTV footage, the case became airtight. In the interview room, Evan initially denied knowing Ariana at all. He claimed he had never seen her and had simply been walking the halls to clear his head. Detectives presented still images showing him following her from the lobby to the lounge, the elevators, and the fitness center area. Evan shifted in his seat and said the hotel was confusing, and he had been trying to find ice machines. When detectives showed the footage of him forcing Ariana into her room, his demeanor changed. He leaned back, crossed his arms, and said nothing. He claimed the footage didn't show what happened inside and insisted he had nothing to say about it. Detectives pressed further, presenting the DNA results. Evan stared at the table and remained silent. Eventually, when asked why he followed her, he muttered that she seemed interesting and that he wanted to talk to her without other people around. He did not admit intent or violence, but the implication of obsession was clear. He requested a lawyer shortly after, ending the interrogation. The trial moved quickly due to the overwhelming evidence. Prosecutors presented the synchronized CCTV footage, showing Evan tailing Ariana throughout the hotel and forcing her into her room. Jurors watched the final hallway sequence multiple times, each angle reinforcing the deliberate nature of his pursuit. Forensic experts testified about the DNA match, fingerprints, and autopsy findings. The timeline of his movements, from following Ariana to entering her room to leaving calmly and disposing of items, formed a cohesive narrative without gaps. Evan's defense attempted to argue mental instability and lack of intent, but the clarity of the video footage undermined the argument. The jury deliberated for less than a day. Evan Rudd was found guilty of homicide and aggravated sexual assault. The judge sentenced him to 42 years in state prison, with no possibility of parole for the first 30 years. Ariana Holt was a creative traveler who booked hotel stays to film content, unwind, and find small adventures away from home. On the night she died, she returned to her room carrying a cafe drink, walked down a quiet hallway, and unlocked her door without noticing the man who had followed her throughout the hotel. Trusting she was alone, she stepped inside, unaware that the silence around her gave a stranger the opportunity he had been waiting for. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, and share, and stay tuned for more stories.